Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Normal America Show. I am your host, robnoerr. It's been a while. I haven't seen you. Thanksgiving and all of that good stuff. And so you haven't seen me since last Wednesday. So we'll talk a little about what I've been up to. It's been a long, long week for me. Thanksgiving was amazing. My I'm lucky. I have an awesome family. I love spending time with my family. But I get called into work Friday, and I've been here ever since. And it's been very busy at work, so try my best. I do apologize that. Check. Sorry. Let me fix my mic here for a second. I do apologize that I haven't been streaming much, but I miss streaming. I miss interacting with everyone. But it's one of those things that when it happens, it happens. I explained this. I'll just talk briefly about this. I explained this several times here recently. Holidays are a tough time in this line of work, doing home health care with people with disabilities. A lot of people that I work with don't have families that are in regular contact with them, and so it's a difficult time. So often, and in addition to that, everyone's calling off. As everyone saves their vacation time up until the holidays, and they want to take time off. So I usually get suckered into working insane hours. So this year it'll be no different. My company actually did something neat. I don't know if anyone else's company does this where you work, but for the holidays, if you work basically Christmas and New Year's, they're giving a bonus for that. Which is great for me, not because I'm getting the bonus, but because other people have volunteered to do it, and so I'll actually have those days off. New Year's Eve is my wife's birthday, so I like to have New Year's Eve off, and I rarely do. So, how many hours have I worked this period? So, it's a complicated question. I get time off at work here. I usually get 8 hours downtime, whether it be sleep time or time to stream and things like that. I usually get 8 hours where I have to be here in case there's an emergency, but I'm just kind of doing my own thing. I don't get paid for that. So I came in Friday at 8, I believe. So I've been here 24/7 since Friday at 8. So that means that's a lot of hours. But I only get paid 8 hours each of those days. I don't get paid. So if you take 8 hours off Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, because I don't get paid 8 of those hours, and then I go home tomorrow at 2. So yeah, it's a lot. It'll be about 90 hours. That's in addition to trainings and things like that I have to do every week. So not that anyone gives a shit about this, but I believe I'm on pace for paid hours to have roughly 3,500 hours worked this year. And then in addition to that, there will be about 800 that I had to be at work. On an average week, there are 16 hours that I have to be here that I'm not paid. So when you factor that out through 52 weeks, I'm on pace to work like 4,500 hours this year, which averages out to over 80 a week. So, yay! Not that anyone cares about that, but I do work ridiculous hours. That's the price you pay when you get drunk all through college and didn't get a career using my degree. So, but I like what I do. I miss being away from my family, but I get to spend a lot. The beauty is I do these block shifts. I'm gone Sunday night. I get all day Sunday with my family. I come in Sunday night usually, and then I go home Wednesday afternoon. So I have Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and all day Sunday with my family. So yeah, I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. I did. Unfortunately, not only was I at work Saturday, but my parents' Thanksgiving canceled because everyone had the flu. And now I also am not feeling good. So I don't know if it comes across I don't feel like I have the flu, though. I feel like I have a migraine, and I just feel really tired. So maybe a cold or something like that. My degree's in speech communication, similar to communication, but yeah, had an excellent Thanksgiving. So I hope you all did as well. And the people I work with had a great Thanksgiving. The people I take care of, so all good. So yeah, I apologize. A little under the weather today. I'm supposed to be like chugging a bunch of water, so if I keep getting up, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, I make about 19 an hour now, Vita. So I'll damn near have 100,000 with overtime. Of course, that's before taxes, but it'll be around 100K. But inflation's crazy. Having a kid's crazy. Costs a lot of money. So it's great to see all of you. It's been news-wise, it's been a crazy time, huh? So I like to do shows that aren't on the issues that I really want to talk about. When I have to do audio only, when I'm not at my home studio. And so I thought I had a lot of people sort of reaching out to me or mentioning the 1 second, reposition my microphone. The whole Nick Fuentes, Kanye, Tim Pool thing. So I thought we'd talk a little about that, and then we'll just go wherever people want to go. Who is Nick Fuentes? Is that what I wrote? I might have. Did I spell it wrong? No, I didn't. Clever, though. Pretty clever. So we'll go an hour or so. Also, again, special thanks to Aftershock for helping set up. Thursdays, I'm going to do an interview show for as long as I feel. This Thursday, I'll be talking to Sprouticus. Topic to be determined. So, that'll be an hour and a half or so. So we could talk about the Kanye stuff. We could talk about the debate I had here the other night, if you like. And there's other stuff that I thought was worth talking about tonight. And then tomorrow night will be a normal show, hopefully from home. So let's do it. Let's jump in. Let's talk about the Kanye, Nick Fuentes, Milo Yiannopoulos, Tim Pool, Donald Trump fiasco. I don't know how else to put it. The first thing to say is I don't know a lot about these characters. Trump, obviously, I know as much as the average person. The rest of them I probably know close to what the average person knows to less. And when I say average, I guess I don't mean the average person. I mean the average political content viewer. Fuentes is someone I had never heard of until maybe a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago. I never interacted with the Groypers. I had people tell me that they were annoying. Fuentes, I'd seen 2 or 3 clips after that, where, Holocaust denial type stuff. And that was it. Now I know a little more about it just because I've interacted with some of the Groypers, and, I'm on the Crucible, and Andrew knows Fuentes and people surrounding Fuentes. For those that don't know, if you're just tuning in, Nick Fuentes runs an organization called America First. It's sort of like a political movement. He's a younger guy. His fans call themselves Groypers. I don't know what the genesis of that word is, but at face value, there's a lot that they say that I would seemingly agree with. Like, it's very Trump-esque, where it's like, focus on this country first. If you scratch beneath the surface, there's accusations of anti-Semitism, racism. I believe they would consider, maybe I'm wrong on this, I think they would consider themselves sort of Catholic nationalists. I think I've seen Fuentes say that he wants a Catholic, sort of, regime. So let me start by saying that, and there's a reason I'm talking about Nick Fuentes here, which I'll get to in a second, in case you've been under a rock. I still don't know how much of what is said about Fuentes is accurate. I've seen clips of him saying really crappy things, like sort of denying the Holocaust. I don't know if deny is the right word. Downplaying it, saying that it was overplayed, that it was, etc. Other, embarrassing things, stupid things that I've seen him say. But I also know that the media, the establishment, they could smear anyone they want as a racist. They say you're racist if you want voter ID. They say you're racist if you want the border secure. They say you're anti-Semitic if you're like, I don't think we should be aiding Israel in the war. I don't think we should move the embassy to Jerusalem. That could be considered anti-Semitic. So I understand how this game's played. I know how they misrepresent anyone that they don't like, that challenges sort of their establishment as a racist. That doesn't mean that everyone they call racist is not a racist. It could be that they're smearing an awful lot of people that aren't racist as racist, but it could be that there are also some people that are racist that they're calling out for that. So I hesitate to judge anyone based on small clips or what the establishment media is saying. Now, I know I don't give a shit. No one gives a shit about this, but I will say it. And I'm not saying it to appease people on the left. I'm just saying this because it is the truth. I also feel the same way when it comes to people I don't like on the left, or people that I don't agree with on the left, that I've never really interacted with. For example, the first time I interacted with Vosh, everyone was like, he's a pedophile defender. He thinks the age of consent should be lowered. And they sent me a clip that was like a 10-second clip. I don't know. The clip sounds bad, but I tried to steelman his position, like, well, what context could you say? Basically, this clip of Vosh was saying, like, capitalism, and, then why not lower the age of consent? If I tried to steelman, it would be like, look, capitalism exploits children for labor, and if you're going to exploit them for labor, then that system would be most likely to also exploit them in other ways. I don't know. I asked him about it. He briefly ran through it. I don't know. I have seen other things in context that are despicable that he says, and I call him out for that, such as calling for violence against, shooting Trump supporters or Patriot Prayer supporters, and all sorts of other terrible shit that he said, or dumb stuff. But I just want to make it clear. I understand how you could take a clip. There are clips that you could take of me to make me sound like, a maniac on a bunch of issues. So I don't know. About how racist is Nick. I don't know. I don't know him well. I know that I know his community. I've interacted with members of this community, and many of them are garbage. Most of them are just young people. It is sort of a cult. They listen to whatever Nick says. If Nick likes Trump, then they like Trump. If Nick likes Kanye, then they like Kanye. I hate that. I hate that cult of personality. But to me, it is attractive. I understand why it's attractive to young people, particularly young men. It's the same reason that Jordan Peterson was attractive to young men. Not physically attractive, but the ideas of it. And that is that there is sort of this cultural destruction of men, of white people, of Christians. Culture has become more of a celebrating debauchery, which we'll talk about a little of that later. And so when people come along and they're like, look, you should be Christian, you should be, more conservative, that's like counterculture now. And there's a lot of people that no one's talking to, and they happen to be young white men. It doesn't make you a racist for talking to those people at all. Again, I'm not saying Nick is or isn't a racist. I'm just saying it's perfectly acceptable to talk to those groups that feel like that there's no one speaking for them, and that doesn't make you racist. In fact, the group that I got interested in speaking up to and wondering why they didn't have a cultural voice was sort of rural America. There's no culture, people in positions of power that are praising or pushing the culture of rural America. It's all they're deplorables, they're flyover country, you know. What does BPF think of Feuntes? He doesn't like him at all. The squeaky Professor Peterson voice, yeah, kind of hot, huh? Aftershock says it's unfortunate because the right, regardless how we feel about each other, should come together against our arching enemies, the left. Instead, we see them destroy the entire thing. Just why? We have a big enough enemy as it is. Yeah, I agree with you, Mick Linebacker. Rural people want to be left alone, but which is great. That's how I feel. But the problem is that makes them easy to pick on then. So, anyways, that's my feeling on Fuente. I think that his group's sad. I think Nick's probably a smart guy. And Nick has some beliefs that'll overlay with me. But I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm not a Christian nationalist. I'm not a Groyper. I don't feel the need to be an edgelord like they try to be. It's not my thing. So I don't really interact with them much. I don't care to. It's not really my thing. Now, the reason I bring up Nick Fuentes is Kanye West, who I don't think needs an introduction for anyone, apparently got invited to a dinner with Donald Trump and decided to bring Nick Fuentes. I don't know if Milo Yiannopoulos was there or not, but Nick Fuentes was there. Now, Nick is smeared by the media and even people on the right as a racist. And again, maybe he is a racist. I don't know. But that's the projection. The projection is that he's basically persona non grata. He is said to be sort of the young white version of what Louis Farrakhan is. Distrusting of Jewish people, And I just want to be honest here. Again, I leave room to change my mind because I'm telling you I haven't interacted with Nick. I've only seen a very small amount of what Nick says. But my gut feeling is Nick's an anti-Semite. That's my gut feeling. He seems to want to talk about Jewish people in a negative light quite frequently. Maybe not. Maybe he's just an anti-Zionist. But it's a fine line. And I find it to be sort of... what's the word I'm looking for? It's... That sort of thinking to me obviously can be racist, but it's also just so rudimentary. It's so simple. Oh, it's just this race is the bad people. They control everything. It's so dumb. We dabbled in it a little with my debate with JF Gary Epi and Sean Last, where they were like, did you notice everyone involved in the Rittenhouse thing was Jewish? And I was like, really? Because I'm looking at these prosecutors. They don't sound like they have Jewish names. Who? Were the cops that arrested him? Well, maybe not them, but it's just like, okay. It's not enough to be like, there are a group of people that have power and wealth, and they abuse that. But it has to be like, oh no, it's all in the name of one race. I just find it childish. Are there Jewish people that are members of the same establishment that I criticize? Absolutely. But they're also Catholics. They're probably Muslims. They're atheists. Probably Satanists. That's just religions. Like when you get to race, it runs the gambit there as well. So anyways, Kanye goes to this dinner. And just like I'd said about the Groypers before, people can't run fast enough from them once it becomes public. If you remember about a year ago when I first interacted with the Groypers, and they were like, oh, our big America First conference, and, who was it? Lauren Boebert's going to be there, and, this person's going to be there, and Michelle Malkin's going to be there, and, oh, man, yeah, all these mainstream people. And I was like, once they're aware of how you talk, let me back up. The way I got involved with the Groypers was as I was driving to work one night, I was watching Twitch, and Stardust was on, and these people came on and were just basically yelling the N-word at her, insulting her looks and stuff. And they asked if anyone wanted to call on in to comment, and I said, sure, I'll call in and comment. And I was just basically like, what the hell is wrong with you people? And then they just made fat jokes about me the whole time, and commented on my wife and shit like that. And I just let them know, you can't be both a serious political movement and yuck, I say the N-word. Well, because it's fun. Like, it's just, you could be that sort of edgelord if you want, or you could be someone trying to run for office and trying to be a campaign manager. You can't be both. And I was like, the people in the political world that are serious about running for office and creating change will run from you as soon as this stuff that you're saying becomes public. They won't be able to get far enough away from you. They'll throw you under the bus. And that's exactly what happened at the America First conference, and that's what happened with Trump. So Trump was like, oh, I didn't even know this guy. I didn't know. I invited Kanye. He brought some dude. Dude sat down. So let's start there. What do I think about Trump having dinner with Kanye? What do I think about Nick Fuentes being there? I'm not surprised Trump had dinner with Kanye. I'm not at all. Kanye is someone who is very influential, like him or hate him. He is a person whose opinions gets into the culture, and that gives him some sort of power. He is a person that is persona non grata by all of the same people that say Trump was persona non grata. And so I could see that affinity of them coming together, and they're both formerly in entertainment, and Trump, for better or worse, worked with, at least Kanye's former wife, Kim Kardashian, and others for his prison reform bill. Kanye said some things, which we'll talk about in a second, that could be interpreted as anti-Semitic. So is it questionable for Trump to invite him? I don't really care. I don't. I'll care that Trump invited Kanye West and that Nick Fuentes tagged along with him. I'll care about that. When the Democrats care about the Congressional Black Caucus, including Barack Obama, taking pictures and palling around with Louis Farrakhan. I've heard a clip of Don Lemon saying he likes the Nation of Islam. I watched the Nation of Islam run security at George Floyd's funeral that was broadcast all over television. So I don't get into the, you have to condemn game. Fuck all that. I don't care about that. I'll talk shit on people when I feel like it. I'm not going to do it because the left tells me I have to. So when I criticize someone on my side, it's because I feel like it, not because the left told me I had to. They are the worst people. If Kanye came out tomorrow and said, you know what, I was just trolling, here's all the shit that's horrible about Trump, they would embrace him with open arms. The amount of racist garbage stuff that comes from the left that is totally accepted, Trudeau in blackface, or Howard Stern with all the stuff he did in blackface, or Jimmy Kimmel, or how about Nick Cannon talking about the evils of white people and how they're subhuman, and he's still on to... Like, it's absurd. So I'm not jumping through those hoops. Dial down the mic volume? All right. One sec. Let me grab water. Someone says, Nick Fuentes isn't defendable. I don't know Nick Fuentes that much. But you know who's not defendable? The Nation of Islam. You remember when a Nation of Islam member actually did kill a capital city police officer? You remember the whole left and the Democrats and the establishment went nuts when they spread this bullshit lie that this officer Sicknick was crushed with a fire extinguisher January 6th and murdered. And it turned out that was garbage. But then a few months later, a capital city police officer was murdered by a Nation of Islam member. And yet, members of the Democratic Party in positions of power pal around with the Nation of Islam. Members of the media. That's not defensible. So I don't care what any of those people think. Fuck them. They embrace racism. They embrace anti-Semitism when it benefits them. Period. Now, I'll call out racism. I'll call out anti-Semitism when I see it, if I feel like it. But I'm not going to listen to them. Just like I'm not going to listen to the left that defended the riots and things like May 30th, 2020, when they tried to break into the White House with Molotov cocktails, injured 17 officers, burnt down a guard station. And the left and the Democrats and the media made fun of Trump for having to go to a bunker. I'm not going to listen to any of those people that defended that or were silent on that talk to me about political violence. No, you've lost your right. You defended it or supported it or ignored it when it was your side doing it, so I don't want to hear it. Now, will I condemn political violence when it happens on the right? Yes, because I want to. Not because those garbage people on the left that want one set of rules for you, but another for themselves. No, I don't need chatbots and shit. So the fact that Trump invited Kanye, I don't care. I would talk to Kanye. Hell, I'd talk to Nick Fuentes. I don't know that I would have dinner with Nick Fuentes, but I guess if Kanye called and was like, "We'll go out to dinner," I'd be like, "Sure." I'm not going to sit there and agree with him. He'd probably storm off like he did in Tim Pool's show with me. But if he brought Nick Fuentes, I'd be like, "What's this guy doing here? Fuck off." Talking to them is one thing. Dinner is another. So I don't mind Trump having dinner. I also believe that Trump probably didn't know who Nick Fuentes was. He may have known, and it could be an excuse. Maybe he didn't. I don't know. I'll tell you this much. I have trouble remembering people, and I have a little circle here. Donald Trump was the president. He's meeting dozens of people every day. So I believe that he probably didn't know who Nick Fuentes was. If he did, he's an idiot for having him there because he knows optically that it can only be a loss for him. Kanye could benefit Trump in some ways. And Kanye's also a person that's of the stature that you could see, even if controversial, Trump sitting down with. Nick Fuentes isn't at that level. So I believe, as Kanye said, and others, that Trump didn't know who he was. Now, I didn't see everything that came from the fallout, but I do know that basically, after this meeting, Trump came out and said, I didn't know who that guy was, as I predicted would happen with the Groypers, that people just run from them, even Trump. And then Fuentes was like, well, I'm not backing Trump for president, I'm backing Kanye. And now Nick Fuentes is like Kanye's campaign manager? It's hilarious. And Milo Yiannopoulos came in. Now, I liked Milo formerly. The irony, like, this is going to piss my audience off. The irony is, the time that I stopped liking Milo was like, well, I can't even say stopped liking. I just stopped paying attention. Was the whole, never mind, I'm not gay now. I'm not saying, and my audience might be like, wait, what? So you want him to be gay? It just reeked of inauthenticity. That's what I'm saying. It was like, okay, you got in trouble for some comments of a sexual nature involving grooming of children, and so now it's like, oh, I'm not gay. And to me it was like, is this guy just like making shit up? I don't know. Why would it matter to my audience? Because probably a lot of people in my audience think that being gay is a sin. Milo is a grifter. Maybe. Probably. But here's the problem, right? Here's where my sympathies to some extent lie with Milo. I don't think what Milo said that got him in trouble on Rogan's show, where he's pedophilic and, oh, he's defending groomers, that's not how I looked at that. If Milo had said, as an adult gay man, I'm looking to have relationships with 13 or 14-year-old boys, that's indefensible. But instead he said, when I was 14, I had a sexual relationship with an older man. It happens all the time in this community, and I don't feel that I was taken advantage of. That's a victim, is what that is. I've heard that talk in my line of work. I work with, the population of people I work with, those with developmental disabilities, they're something like 3 times more likely to be the victim of sexual assault. Because oftentimes they get lost in a system and they aren't believed or they can't communicate, and so they're vulnerable. And predators take advantage of that. They take advantage of children in similar ways. And I have worked with people that I know have experienced sexual trauma that make defenses for it. You know, I'm not talking a specific situation, but just a hypothetical, something like this. You know, oh, my dad didn't mean to do that to me. I still want to go to my dad's for Christmas, and it's like, So, the fact that Milo... And by the way, Bill Maher said the same thing. Right? Bill Maher joked about it previously, like in the late 90s, early 2000s. He didn't get canceled. I just thought it was interesting, because if I was someone that was like, wow, that's offensive, which it is, the idea that like there could be consensual sexual relationships between 13 and 14-year-old boys and adult men, it is disgusting. It's one of the most disgusting things and egregious things possible. And those adult men should be thrown in prison probably for the rest of their life. But if the kid grows up and is like, well, you know, I don't feel like I was a victim. Now, maybe he said more after that. I don't recall. But I remember everyone freaking out, and I was like, and that was it. And here's the thing. Milo, even if he was a grifter, was effective culturally. And you have to understand, that's more important than politics. That's why Kanye's gone after so strong. The left and the establishment has a stranglehold over culture. They've won the cultural battles. The pendulum's swinging But for years, they've won the cultural battles. All of our, entertainers and academics, and almost all of them, are all left-wing. That's where culture's at. And so they view people like that as a threat. And if you slip up once, that's all it takes to wipe you out. And so that's what happened with Milo. So is he desperate now? Yeah, he probably is. Maybe he's pissed off that no one came to his defense. Maybe he's just desperate and needs relevancy or money. I don't know. I will say that, as flamboyantly gay as he was, all of a sudden being like, oh, I'm not gay. I'm not buying it. But whatever. In my time listening to Milo, online around the time of 2015, 2016, I didn't hear him saying anything close to what Nick Fuentes is accused of. Maybe he's different now. I don't know. I could be wrong. I think Milo's Jewish. Maybe. Yeah, I mean, Beast, you have to ask yourself, if you were a 14-year-old guy and you were talking about, a very attractive female teacher you had, and it's still abuse if that female teacher hooks up with that 14-year-old boy. But if that boy is 24, 25, bragging about it, I don't think people are canceling him. And the greater thing, someone mentioned earlier, I think that what Milo said there is probably true. It seems like there is a sect of the Hollywood community where there's this grooming of children through adult gay men. Does that mean every gay man? No, of course not. But instead of focusing on that, it's, Milo's a terrible person. Anyways. So, Trump's like, yeah, whatever, I don't really know them. And Kanye's, apparently Trump told Kanye, don't run for president, it's a mistake. And so now Kanye's going to run, and Nick Fuentes and Milo Yiannopoulos are running his campaign. And it honest to goodness, sounds like a sitcom. I don't know how else to say it. It's hilarious, is what it is. It's a joke. Let's talk about Kanye for a minute. You can't see me now. You'll just have to trust me or go check out some of my other videos. I'm a white guy. I grew up in rural Pennsylvania. I've lived here my whole life. I have no problem with people sticking to group affinities. For me, it's rural people. Maybe it's Christians. If you're a Christian, maybe it's based on a race. Maybe it's based on whatever. Tribalism, it exists. Should it exist? I don't know, but it's human nature. It always will. There are a lot of problems in the inner city. And a lot of problems with the culture that comes out of that. And I don't mean... I'm not just shitting on gangster rap. That's not what I'm doing. I mean, I try to imagine often, what it would be like to grow up with, no dad, just a mom, living in the inner city, by the time you get to high school, 2 or 3 of your friends have been shot and killed. The only sort of chance you have to get out, it seems like, is joining a gang. That's insane. It's horrible. It's horrific. I know I wouldn't get out of it. I know I'm weak. I would take the easy way out. I'd be like, sure, I'll join a gang. That's life for a lot of young people that grow up in the inner city. And out of that comes culture, which, feeds itself. The idea of gangster rap and, glorifying that sort of stuff, it's insane. It's like, what came first, chicken or egg type stuff. Now, I'm not justifying this. I'm just saying I could visualize how it could happen. Imagine that you grow up in that community, right? You live in inner city Detroit or Chicago. And 90% of the people you know are black. And then all the stores are owned by Asian people or white people or Jewish people or even Hispanic people. I could see how stereotypes would be formed. I'm not saying they're justified. I'm not. But I understand how that would happen. There are a lot of weird racial beefs that I just don't understand and never will because I'm not part of those groups. I could sort of peripherally understand it. But that's why there's we heard about this huge swath of anti-Asian hate crimes. When you look at the numbers, it's pretty clear. The majority of those crimes are occurring from black people. That doesn't mean that the black guy that's my neighbor is racist against Asian people. That doesn't mean that the majority of black people are racist. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there is perceived animosity, and it tends to occur in areas with high crime, low socioeconomic, and, let me speak for a minute as a person who's lived in a poor white area where sort of drugs and things have been, a problem. I used to bartend. Here's something that I would hear, right? Some guy comes in at 1 o'clock in my little town. Basically the stereotype of sort of a drunken hillbilly, and they come in and it's 1 in the afternoon and they start drinking and they're drunk by 3 and they just start complaining about their life. I got 3 kids and I gotta pay this shitty child support and I can't get a job because I've been to jail for selling drugs and, if I was fucking black, they get all the benefits. Fucking black people. They get all the benefits. I'd be like, what are you talking about? Oh, man, if you're black, everything's given to you. And I'm like, you realize there are black people that say that about being white. Well, I just don't care for black people. Really, what don't you like about them? None of them work. Oh, yeah, what's your job? Well, I'm laid off right now. All you do is sit around getting high and drunk. Oh, yeah, what are you doing today? The irony is, you're always, we as humans tend to blame other people when things aren't going wrong or going right for us. And it's easy to do that along racial lines. Or, look at incels. It's easy to do it along sex lines. My mic's peaking hard. All right, let me turn it down some. Let me know if it keeps speaking. Sorry. This isn't defending it. It's not saying everyone in these groups is that. I understand how that could happen. Now say you're Kanye West. So you're out of that. Maybe that's where you grew up, but now you get into, the entertainment industry. And I believe Kanye probably has some mental problems, but he also probably was abused. His trainer, that if those texts are accurate, where his trainer was like, I'll basically drug you and get you hospitalized if you don't do what I say, that's horrific. I'm sure that there are all sorts of, studio executives and promoters and, all of these people that are telling you, you have to do this, you have to do that. And the pressure has to be surreal. Let me give you an example. I had a friend in college, and we were drunken louts. We were. We drank all the time. The old, you want to say Janis Joplin, but it was actually wrote by Chris Christopherson, Bobby McGee, right? The song? Where it says, freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. Like, that's sort of true. When you don't have a reputation, you don't have to worry about ruining it. And so, we weren't bad people. People liked us. We had a good reputation of being fun, but we weren't business people. We didn't stand to, lose a fortune if we said or did the wrong thing. We were broke. And there was a freedom to that. And then my friend went off and became a very successful lawyer. And, he's talked to me and said, I miss that. I miss just being anonymous and going and doing what I want. And if I get locked up in the drunk tank for the night, no big deal. Now, it looks bad on my firm. Imagine being a billionaire. Imagine the pressure that comes with, don't fuck it up. We just got all these people telling you, do this, do this, do this, do this. The asses you have to kiss. Look at someone like LeBron. I don't like LeBron James. I think LeBron James is a woke piece of garbage. I think he's a tremendous athlete. LeBron James, for all the whining and moaning he does, won the genetic lottery. He may physically be amongst the top 5, 10 athletes that have ever existed. Just his body. LeBron James has the physical skills to basically play any sport that he wanted. Maybe not ice hockey because maybe he doesn't skate, but he could play tight end or receiver in football, no doubt. If he had the coordination, he could learn to swing a bat and play baseball. He'd probably be, he's just a tremendous athlete, but I don't like him. But look at how he had to tiptoe with the whole China thing. Now, part of it, maybe he likes China. I don't know. We'll talk about that in a bit. But I think most of it's just man, I can't say that. I can't criticize China because all of these billions of dollars that we have wrapped up in it. So Kanye, with that, maybe he has diagnosed disorders or not. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and armchair psychiatrist. I don't know. I don't care. What I'll say is this. It's probably a huge amount of pressure and immensely frustrating to put on this perception like you've got all of this money. You basically, excuse the language, you basically have fuck you money and you can do whatever you want. But the truth is billionaires don't have fuck you money. In many cases, it's even more of a prison. And it's one thing if you're a billionaire, like a Bill Gates or an Elon Musk or a Jeff Bezos. It's another thing if you got your money through the entertainment industry. Because you get all these handlers. All these, hangers-on. And so, I could see how he would be very upset with that. And I don't think that that's inaccurate at all. I think that I think that Kanye's actually speaking a problem, if I had to guess, is very prevalent throughout the entertainment industry. Which is, you have these people that through the sweat of their brow and through their talent, they're bringing in money. But all these handlers, the studio execs and all that, are the real ones that are making the big money because they're just making money off that talent and they're telling them what to do. And if they tell you, you're going to sing this song, and I mean, this goes to a lower level. I remember just a year ago, I was watching a video from the lead singer of the band Warrant. Warrant's most famous song, they were a hair metal band. Their most famous song was that Cherry Pie song. They fucking hated that song. They hated it. But the studio was like, you're going to sing this song. They didn't want to do it. They thought it was stupid. At least that's what the singer said. So they did it, and now that's all they're known for, and he's miserable about it. But you're going to do what they tell you. And so Kanye probably, with all of that background, I think he's right to point out, dude, they're trying to control me. They're trying to say there's certain things I can't say, but I don't play that game. But then he's fixated on, it's the Jews. Are there people that are Jewish that are in those roles that he's talking about? Probably. Are they disproportionately Jewish? Maybe. I don't think that this makes it some grand conspiracy where it's like, only Jews run the entertainment. Like, to me, it's like, I don't know why it needs to go there. But I understand cracking under that pressure and, So anyways, we're 52 minutes in, and now so they're going on Tim Pool's show. Milo, Nick Fuentes, and Kanye. And what did it last? 10 minutes? 15 minutes? I just saw the clip where he walked out. Basically, I'm not going to play the clip. Basically, this is sort of what happens. Kanye's talking about, they tell me what I could say or whatever, and Tim Pool says, yeah, they, blah, 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 blah. And Kanye's like, who's the they, though? You can't say the they. And Nick kind of chortles in. And Tim's like, well, and bam, Kanye just storms off. And then Nick follows him out. And I think Milo did as well. It's not just Zionism. Even that is inaccurate. There are powerful people in the establishment that are involved in that sort of control that were heavily anti-Israel, such as those in the Obama administration. You can talk shit on Jews all you want. Do you think it's ridiculous when people talk shit on white people? Yes. So then why would I talk shit on Jewish people? But of course there's a double standard. I get it. It's not just with Jewish people. It's also with black people. It's also with gay people. It's also with women. It's also with trans people. It's also with Muslims. It's also with atheists. Not to beleaguer the point, but Kanye looks like a wimp. He storms out. He looks ridiculous. He looks like someone who can't defend his positions. Or he's a crybaby. And Nick Fuentes and Milo look like his little errand boys. That's what they look like to me. It looked pathetic. At this point, they are toxic. They will harm people that they claim to help in the long run. It's sad, Here's my hot take, though, right? You ready? Trump had dinner with Nick Fuentes. Does anyone else know someone who's had dinner with Nick Fuentes? I do. Anyone? Who was Fuentes palling around with, having dinner with and stuff? Like in the last 8 months, 9 months. A streamer. Anyone know? Nick Fuentes' wife. Is he married? Because I see Nick Fuentes say it's gay to have sex with women. Another brilliant. There's a streamer formerly on Twitch who's now on YouTube that goes by the name of Destiny. And he had dinner with Nick Fuentes, right? And now Trump had dinner with Fuentes. So my question is, when is Trump going to have dinner with Mr. Girl? I think it would be phenomenal. Why not? And the problem is with the Trump aspect of this is it just makes it look more like a sideshow. You know, look, Trump's appeal in 2016 was basically being a big middle finger to the establishment and just like this monkey wrench that's just coming in and screw, F you, I don't have to do. But at this point, right, as someone who has been president, you can't be having dinner with Nick Fuentes, even if it's an accident. And I'm not even saying that's totally fair to Nick Fuentes. I'm just saying you have to know how this will be spun. You have to know. And at this point, I understand the sort of argument which is, well, the media is going to spin everything that Trump does is shitty, so what's the difference anyways? Yeah, but you can't give them that sort of ammo. And if you question it, and I'm not saying this is the same thing, but would Trump sit down and have dinner with David Duke or Richard Spencer? Of course not. It would be ridiculous. My sound is cutting out. I don't know. This internet connection here, it sucks. Just let me know if it gets too bad, and I'll just wrap up the stream. Yeah, there's no benefit from Trump's position. Again, I am giving Trump the benefit of the doubt that he didn't know that Fuentes was coming. It seems clear that that was the case, and he didn't really know who he was. But ultimately, my big take, at the end of the day is I just don't give a shit. Does anyone remember when they locked down this country and treated people like contempt that were against it? And they punished children for the sake of adults under COVID? Remember that shit? Or remember how it's like damn near impossible to fill up your gas tank? Remember when Biden killed a bunch of kids, or, his generals killed a bunch of kids? And told us it was ISIS-K and the disaster that was the Afghanistan withdrawal. Remember that? Remember the open border? Remember hundreds of thousands of people dying of fentanyl? How about the attack on free speech? How about we found out that there's collusion between our government and tech companies to censor people that are critical of them? How about that? So excuse me for not really giving a shit about Nick Fuentes. That's it. That's basically what I have to say on it. It's funny. The Kanye, Milo, Nick Fuentes, there's no way that please someone tell me that there's a documentary crew with them, because I'll fucking watch that. So, ultimately at the end of the day, when the people on the left go, oh, Fuentes, blah, 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 it's like, it's no worse than Vosh. No worse than the trans mafia that runs Twitch that'll cancel anyone that they disagree with, or Louis Farrakhan that the Democrats hang around with, or any litany of other people, Ibram Kendi, or I don't think having dinner with someone means you share their views, but the guy's running for president. You got to be a little. It's not fair. Like, if we had an ideal system, you would sit down, you'd be able to have dinner with Richard Spencer or Xi Jinping or, Khomeini or, Kim Jong-un or, Nancy Pelosi or, all those terrible people. Yeah, I don't think I like Nick Fuentes. He probably is anti-Semitic. But again, I'm leave room. I haven't I shit you not. If I added up every actual clip I've ever watched of Nick Fuentes, it'd probably be 15 minutes. So I know next to nothing. I hear what people say about him. I see the 20-second clips, but that's about it. So I'm not judging him too harshly. My gut feeling is he's probably anti-Semitic, just people that have been in his little group. I think that his group's like a cult that, I feel bad for the young people. Some of the people that are Groypers, like the older ones, suck. But the younger people I kind of feel bad for. They're just looking for a place to belong. But that's it. So that's it. That's all I have to say on that shit show. Let's talk about Balenciaga. Now everyone knows about this story. It was worse than you could imagine. Right from the pictures of the bondage gear with children to the books that were on the table in the photo shoot being about child sex exploitation, things of that nature. It's terrible. Why isn't there 1/100th of the outrage from the establishment class, the powerful people that are entertainers or that are media people? Imagine if Balenciaga had done a photo shoot, but instead of children with bondage gear, they had done shit that was dog whistling to racism. They had David Duke books on the table. Or anti-LGBT. Fuck, imagine they did a photo shoot with Harry Potter books. There would be more outrage from these establishment types. Oh my God! J.K. Rowling's a TERF! What is that company doing? You'd have seen celebrity endorsers like, yeah, we can't back that. Why is that? How is this not something we could all agree on? Pedophilia, bad. Sexual exploitation of children, bad. Now, maybe it's because some powerful people are involved in that sort of shit. It's probably why the Epstein client list will never be revealed, at least in totality. It's why Epstein, quote-unquote, killed himself, and that was swept under the rug. It's why Ghislaine Maxwell's trial was under lock and key. You know everything about the Rittenhouse trial or the Derek Chauvin trial or insert whatever, but you couldn't know about Ghislaine Maxwell's trial. Well, no doubt, because there are very powerful people of all political affiliations that were involved. Which is disgusting. And not just disgusting. That word doesn't even do it justice. It is one of the things that needs to be most investigated and people held accountable. Right, Surian. That's where I'm going with this, yeah. I didn't see the new Veritas video. Media are asking the Biden administration, what do you think about Elon and free speech? Oh, what are you doing to... And they're like, yeah, we're keeping our eye on it. Keeping your eye on it, says the Biden administration. Entertainers, advertisers, they're all pulling out of Twitter. Apple's talking about taking Twitter off of the App Store. Did they find out that Twitter had hashtags that were promoting child porn? Nope. They were absolutely fine with that. In fact, they're probably mad that Elon's trying to eliminate that. Or if not mad, they're silent. I covered a story about a year ago. It was surreal. I couldn't believe it was true. A lawsuit that was filed by a young man and his mother because nude photos of him as like a 13-year-old were placed on Twitter and shared about. The woman, the mother, contacted Twitter and said, "Can you remove these photos?" They refused. Until much later, once lawsuits were filed. I don't recall all the advertisers leaving over that. That was fine. But Elon saying, you know what, maybe we shouldn't kick conservatives off en masse on this platform. All of a sudden, no. We can't have that. It is clear that we do live in, and I'm using this word literally by how I define it, we are living in a fascist society. And by that I mean corporations and government working in tandem to oppress average people. Large corporations like Apple are doing everything they can to make sure that the establishment has a stranglehold on the flow of information. Now, I'm an old man. I'm 38. Let me take you way back to the year 2002 when I started college. I graduated high school in the summer of 2002, started college at a little state school in Pennsylvania called Clarion University in the fall of 2002. I was a communication major at the time. And I took, that first year, I probably took 3 or 4 sort of introduction to communication courses. I wanted to be a journalist. Not so much a journalist, I wanted to be like a broadcaster. Or a sports announcer or something of that nature. And I would say in 50% of the introductory to communication courses that I took, that one of the central focuses was, back then in 2002, how much trouble we were in as a society because 4 or 5 corporations controlled the flow of information. And this was before social media was a big thing. In fact, back then, in order to have a Facebook page, you had to be a college student. I was around when Facebook started. Never had a MySpace page. MySpace was taking off when I was in high school. Never did MySpace. But Facebook I knew. I remember in high school going to KDKA, to tour KDKA with my school. And this was maybe in 99, maybe 2000. And I remember talking to one of the news people there, and they were like, in 10 years or so, your local news will be irrelevant. Everything will be national. There'll just be national news all the time. And I was like, what? No. Shit, I remember growing up, it was like Joe DiNardo on weather, and, John Fedko on sport. You knew all these. I haven't watched a local news broadcast in forever. They were right. Now, why do I bring this up? Because the fear, and let me be clear, these people were lefties. My professors were lefties. And it used to be that people on the left understood that there's a problem with a few select corporations determining what's allowed to be said and what's not allowed to be said. And you know they still say that because that's their argument against Elon. Except no one's accusing Elon, well, not many, are accusing Elon of censoring lefties. It's just, well, we're going to allow people to come on. There's still going to be, look, and Elon's not perfect. He's flawed. Elon himself is probably a center lefty. I think he's admitted as much. There are going to be people that you're like, why was this person banned? They shouldn't be banned. Why won't he bring Alex Jones back? Yeah, I get it. He's not a free speech absolutist no matter what he says. There are certain things that are still going to be off limits. But the problem is the censorship of political and scientific ideology that they didn't like. Not that it was calling for violence. Things like censoring people for saying there are only two sexes. Censoring people for saying learn to code. It was okay. It was okay when the journalists were like, all of you working in coal mines and oil wells, learn to code. But once the media started to get laid off, journalists got laid off, and people were like, well, how's this feel? Learn to code. Well, you couldn't say that. That was hate speech. The foaming at the mouth you see the full court press shows you how fearful the establishment is of free speech. It's becoming more and more blatant. And sadly, the majority of the people on the left are totally for it. Totally. They don't, even for self-serving reasons, they can't see the writing on the wall. They can't see, once you get rid of all of us, they're just going to come for people that you like on the left. They can't see it. Because they don't give a shit. Because all that dominates their mind is the people that we disagree with politically are fucking evil. They're horrible. They're subhuman. So punish them in any way you can. Everything is legitimate when the people you disagree with aren't even human. They're evil, they're horrible, they're awful. Is it okay to punch a Nazi? No, it's not. Not unless you're directly in danger and you're defending yourself in the moment. Not just because that's morally the way it should be, but also because once you say, yeah, I guess it's okay to punch a Nazi, they go, oh great, and you're a Nazi. I've showed you the thread on the one blog I was on, right? Where this guy was like, Trump is a Nazi supporter, therefore everyone who supports Trump are Nazi supporters, therefore we are justified to execute all of them. That's how many of these people believe. Now, most won't go that far, but they would absolutely go so far as to say, well, you shouldn't be allowed to say what you want on social media. They absolutely are willing to go there. You want to know how far they're willing to go? I don't have the poll in front of me, but I did see that someone posted this earlier today, and I was like, oh, yeah, I remember this poll. This was, I believe, a YouGov poll. Democrats that were polled, 55% thought you should be fined if you weren't vaxxed. 59% thought that people that weren't vaxxed should be confined to their homes. 48%, that's nearly half of Democrats, thought that you should be imprisoned if you questioned the vaccine. 47% favored the government tracking unvaccinated people. And the number I bring up all the time, 29%, nearly 1/3 of Democrats thought that they should take your children from you if you're not vaccinated. Show me the right calling for violence. There's Key Lime. There he is. There's the both sides do it guy. Yeah, all right. Woo! Both sides do it, right, Key Lime? Right? That's Key Lime's shtick. Remember, every time I talk about something, remember when I did the video on that Gypsy Crusader guy, and it was like, these leftist Antifa guys fucked him, they fucked him up, beat him up, did all this shit, and they threw the book at the Gypsy guy, and he's like, well, what about the Gypsy guy? He was bad. Rob, why didn't you mention how bad he is? Yes, he was beaten, and he was mistreated, but you didn't talk about how bad he is. That's who Key Lime is. Key Lime is someone who would be more than happy to watch people like me thrown in prison. That's who he is. He'd go, well, but people on the right would throw people in prison too, so thank you so much, Key Lime. Let me see if I can find the poll. I think the poll was like 1,200, 1,800. I have the poll saved on my home computer. I just don't have it here. Here's the poll. From Rasmussen. I'll put the link. I can't put the link. Someone. Heartland Institute and Rasmussen National Telephone Online Survey finds 48% of voters favor Biden's plan to impose COVID-19 mandates. Survey of 1,016 likely voters. %50 of Democrats think you should be in jail if you question the vaccine. And Key Lime's like, yeah, but, isn't it true that people call people groomers? Right, I call people groomers when they deserve it. Are there people that go too far with it? Sure. Are they suggesting throwing people in prison? 50% people in a political party suggesting what? Throwing people in prison because they questioned a certain medication? Mass banning people? Threatening to take their children away? But both sides do it. I've seen someone do it. Yeah, I've seen it. Good job, Key Lime. Imagine Key Lime during, the Holocaust. You're beside him at Auschwitz. You're like, these Nazis, they're horrible. And he goes, well, the other side has bad people too. Sorry about your family getting gassed, but hey, the other side does bad things too. Both sides do it, so who are we to criticize? Both sides. I am giving you a special voice. That's right, Key Lime. A special voice for Key Lime. And now, a special goodbye to Key Lime. I don't know why my mic is peaking so hard. It's just, you're going to have to live with it. I apologize. Go watch your Voss stream. Have fun. That's how you do it. That's how serious they are against free speech. I don't know if Elon Musk knew what he was getting in for. I really don't. Oh, 1 second. Hey, I'm sorry. It's a work-related thing, so I'm going to let you go here. Let me see if I can find someone to raid real quick. But I should be on tomorrow night. Let's raid Pete the Patriot, good guy. I do apologize for this, but got to do some work-related stuff, so forgive me. Alright. Alrighty, I will see everyone tomorrow night. Maybe I'll be on special guest Kanye, Nick Fuentes. Probably not. But I do appreciate it. Sorry that everything's sort of a muck here with my schedule and everything, but hopefully we'll be getting back into the regular schedule stuff too. So I'll see you all tomorrow night around 9 p.m. Eastern. As always, have a good one.